She wore white, not because she wanted to, not because she was in love. She wore white because they told her to. Because at 19 years old, Sophia Romano had no choice but to walk down an aisle toward a man more than twice her age. A man whose hands had ended lives. A man whose empire was built on blood, silence, and fear. Her father kissed her cheek at the altar, whispered something that sounded like an apology. But apologies don't undo deals made in back rooms with men who don't forgive debts. She looked into the eyes of Dante Moretti, 42, cold, unreadable, and realized something that would haunt her for years. She wasn't marrying a man. She was marrying a graveyard. But here's what no one tells you about being forced into the underworld. Sometimes the monster you're given isn't the one you should fear most. Stay with me. Because what happened next didn't just change Sophia's life. It revealed something darker about power, survival, and what happens when a girl with nothing left to lose learns how to play the game. Let's rewind. 6 months before the wedding, Sophia Romano was just a girl. Not naive, not innocent in the way people romanticize innocence, but unaware. She lived in a small apartment in Naples with her father, Marco, a man who smiled too much and drank too little. He worked at a shipping company. Low-level logistics, the kind of job that keeps you invisible. That invisibility was safety. Until it wasn't. Sophia was studying literature at university. She wanted to be a writer. She spent her evenings at cafes, scribbling in worn notebooks, drinking espresso that had gone cold an hour ago. She had friends. She had dreams. She had a boyfriend. Luca, 21, studying architecture with kind eyes and terrible jokes. Normal life. The kind of life that feels boring until it's ripped away. It started with a phone call her father took in the other room. She remembers because he closed the door. Marco never closed doors. The apartment was too small for privacy, and he was too tired to care. But that night, he closed the door. And when he came out 20 minutes later, his face had changed. Not dramatically. Just emptied. Like someone had reached inside and scooped out whatever kept him standing upright. "Everything okay, Papa?" He smiled. That same smile. But his eyes had gone somewhere else. "Everything's fine, Piccola." Piccola. Little one. He hadn't called her that in years. Over the next 2 weeks, men started appearing. Not at the apartment. Marco was smart enough to keep them away from Sophia. But she'd see him talking to them on street corners, in parked cars, outside the shipping company. They wore suits that cost more than 3 months of her father's salary. They didn't smile. And one of them, tall, silver-haired, with a scar that split his left eyebrow, looked at Marco the way a landlord looks at a tenant 3 months behind on rent. Sophia asked once, just once. "Who are those men?" Her father's hand trembled around his coffee cup, just for a second. Then he steadied it. "Business." "What kind of business?" He looked at her then. Really looked at her. And she saw something that terrified her more than any stranger in an expensive suit. Guilt. Pure, suffocating guilt. "The kind I'm handling. Don't worry." But worry is what you do when the people you love start lying to you. 3 weeks later, her father sat her down. No preamble, no build-up. Just 6 words that detonated her entire world. "You're going to be married, Sophia." Silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that presses against your eardrums until you think they'll burst. "What?" "There's a man. A good man. Successful. He's agreed to take care of us." "Take care of—" "Papa, what are you talking about?" His hands were shaking now. Full tremors he couldn't hide. "I made a mistake. A financial mistake. I borrowed money from people I shouldn't have borrowed from. And the debt, it's more than I can ever repay." The room tilted. How much? 2 million euros. 2 million. The number didn't even sound real. It sounded like something from a movie, from someone else's nightmare. How? How did you— It doesn't matter. How? His voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. What matters is, the debt is real. And these people— Sophia, these aren't banks. They don't send collection letters. They don't negotiate payment plans. They take. And if I can't pay, they'll take everything. Then we run. We leave Naples. They'll find us. He grabbed her hands. His palms were clammy. They always find people who run. And when they do, it's worse. Sophia pulled away. Her mind was racing, scrambling for an exit that didn't exist. And marrying me off to some stranger. That pays your debt? Marco's face crumbled. He's offering to clear it, all of it, in exchange for your hand in marriage. That's not marriage, Papa. That's trade. That's selling me. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. But even as she screamed it, she knew it wasn't true. Not in this world. Not in the world her father had stumbled into when he borrowed blood money from men who collect in flesh. She asked the question she already knew the answer to. Who is he? Her father's voice dropped to a whisper. Dante Moretti. The name hung in the air like a blade. Everyone in Naples knew that name. You didn't grow up in the shadow of organized crime without learning which names meant power, which names meant danger. Dante Moretti wasn't just connected. He was the connection, the head of one of the 5 families that controlled everything from the ports to the politicians. Drugs, weapons, extortion, money laundering. If it generated cash and required silence, it ran through Moretti hands. He was untouchable. And now, he wanted her. Why? Sophia's voice had gone flat, shock settling in. Why me? He could have anyone. Why would he want— I don't know. I didn't ask. When Dante Moretti offers you away, out you don't ask questions. You say yes. You said yes. I didn't. Her father looked at her with eyes full of tears he was too proud to let fall. If you refuse, they'll kill me, Sophia. And then they'll come for you anyway. At least this way. You'll be protected. You'll be his wife. That means something in their world. It means you're untouchable, too. Untouchable? The word tasted like poison. The meeting was arranged 3 days later. Sophia was told to dress nicely. Not formally. This wasn't the wedding. Just presentable. As if she were going to a job interview. Which, in a way, she was. Except the position was wife. And the employer could have her father killed with a phone call. They met at a restaurant. One of those old, elegant places in the historic district where tourists never go because they can't afford it. The kind of place where the waiters know your name and your secrets. Dante Moretti was already seated when she arrived. He didn't stand, didn't smile, just gestured to the chair across from him with one hand, a hand that wore a gold ring with a black stone that caught the light like an eye. Sophia sat. Up close, he was more frightening than she'd imagined. Not because he was ugly. He wasn't. Sharp features, dark hair graying at the temples, a jawline that looked carved from marble. He was handsome in the way a wolf is handsome. Beautiful and fatal. But it was his eyes that paralyzed her. Empty, not cold. Cold implies something, some emotion, even if it's cruelty. These were just absent, like looking into a room where all the furniture had been removed. Sophia. His voice was smooth, controlled, the voice of a man who'd never had to raise it to be obeyed. Mr. Moretti. Dante. A pause. "We're going to be married. You should use my name." She said nothing. He studied her for a long moment. Then he poured wine into her glass, without asking if she wanted it. "Your father made poor choices. But you're paying for them. That's unfair. Was this supposed to be sympathy? Coming from him? If it's unfair, then release us from the debt." The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Life is unfair, Sophia, and men like your father learn that lesson eventually. Usually the hard way." He sipped his wine. "But I'm not a monster, despite what you've been told. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman who operates outside certain legal constraints. There's a difference. You hurt people. I protect my interests. Sometimes that requires force. But I don't hurt people for pleasure. I'm not sadistic, I'm practical." He leaned forward, just slightly, just enough to make the space between them feel smaller. "Here's what I'm offering you, Sophia. Marriage. Not a real one. Not in the way you probably imagined marriage when you were a girl. You'll live in my home. You'll bear my name. You'll attend functions with me. In exchange, your father's debt disappears. He lives. You live. And you'll want for nothing, materially, except freedom. Freedom is overrated." His eyes finally showed something. Not warmth, just interest. "Most people don't know what to do with freedom. They waste it, make stupid choices, end up in situations like your father's. And what do I do? In this arrangement? You exist. You don't embarrass me. You don't betray me. You don't leave." He paused. "And you don't fall in love with anyone else." The last part landed like a slap. "You're telling me I can't—" "You're going to be my wife, Sophia. Not my girlfriend, not my mistress. My wife. That title comes with rules. Break them, and there are consequences. For me or for whoever I hypothetically fall in love with." His smile was sharp enough to draw blood. "Both." Sophia's hands were shaking. She hid them under the table. "And if I refuse? If I tell you to go to hell and walk out of here?" Dante reached into his jacket. For one horrible second, she thought he was reaching for a gun. But he pulled out a phone, turned it toward her. On the screen was a photo. Her father, tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. Bloodied, bruised, but alive. "He's alive now," Dante said quietly. "Because I'm a patient man. But patience has limits." The message was clear. Refuse, and Marco Romano dies. Sophia looked away from the phone, looked at Dante, searched his face for any crack, any hint of humanity. Nothing. "When's the wedding?" she heard herself ask. 4 weeks. I've already made the arrangements." 4 weeks? That's enough time. More than enough. He pocketed his phone. "I'll have my people send you details. Dress, venue, all of it. You just have to show up." He stood, dropped cash on the table. Far too much for 2 glasses of wine. "One more thing, Sophia." She looked up at him. "Don't try to run. Don't try to fight this. You'll lose. And the cost of losing." He let the sentence hang. "Well, you saw the photo." Then he walked out. And Sophia sat there, in that expensive restaurant, surrounded by the quiet murmur of wealthy diners discussing business and vacation homes, and realized she'd just agreed to marry a man who'd shown her a photo of her tortured father as a negotiation tactic. This was her life now. The next 4 weeks passed in a blur of surreal preparation. A dress was delivered. White, of course. Lace and silk and all the romance that a real wedding deserves. Except this wasn't real. This was theater. Sophia's friends noticed something was wrong. Luca definitely noticed. He confronted her 2 weeks before the wedding, grabbed her hands in that cafe where they'd spent so many evenings. "Talk to me. What's happening? You've been distant. You won't return my calls half the time. And now, people are saying..." "Saying what?" He looked sick. "That you're getting married." Silence. "Sophia, tell me that's not true." She couldn't. Luca's face went through 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, hurt, anger, devastation. To who? When? How long? Have you been seeing someone else? It's not like that. Then what's it like? Because from where I'm standing, the girl I love just... Don't. Her voice broke. Don't say you love me, Luca, please. Why not? It's true. I love you. I've loved you for 2 years. I was going to propose next summer. I had a ring picked out. She stood up. She had to. Because if she stayed sitting there, listening to him talk about rings and futures and love, she'd break. And she couldn't afford to break. Not now. I'm getting married. In 2 weeks. To someone else. And I need you to forget about me. Sophia, please, Luca, just... forget. She walked out before he could respond, before she could see his face crumble the way her father's had, before she could tell him the truth, that she loved him too, that she'd imagined a future with him, that marrying Dante Moretti was killing her slowly from the inside out. The wedding day arrived like an execution date. Sophia stood in a preparation room, staring at herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly. Her hair was done. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like a bride. She felt like a corpse. Her father appeared in the doorway. He'd cleaned up, suit, shave. The trembling in his hands temporarily controlled by whatever pills his doctor had prescribed. You look beautiful, Piccola. Don't. Sophia, don't call me that. Don't pretend this is a normal wedding. Don't act like you're a proud father giving away his daughter. You sold me, Papa. Let's at least be honest about what this is. He flinched, but he didn't argue. I'm sorry. I know. If there was any other way. There wasn't. I know that too. She turned to face him. But don't expect me to forgive you. Not today. Maybe not ever. Marco nodded. Tears finally escaped, running down his cheeks. I understand. The music started. Time to go. Sophia took her father's arm, not because she wanted to, but because the theater demanded it. They walked down the aisle of a church that was filled with strangers. Dante's people, his family, his associates. Not one person there was hers. At the altar, Dante waited, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her father's annual salary. Looking calm, looking certain, looking like a man who'd won. The priest said words Sophia didn't hear. She repeated vows she didn't mean. Dante slid a ring onto her finger, platinum, with a diamond so large it felt obscene. And then the priest said the words that sealed it. You may kiss the bride. Dante leaned in. His hand cupped her jaw. His lips brushed hers. Brief, controlled, utterly passionless. It was a signature, not a kiss. Just another line in the contract. When he pulled back, Sophia saw something flicker in his eyes. Just for a second. Satisfaction. He'd won. He'd acquired her, added her to his collection of assets. And Sophia realized something that hardened in her chest, like concrete. She hated him, not with hot, explosive rage, with cold, patient hatred, the kind that waits, the kind that learns, the kind that survives long enough to find an opening. She was 19 years old, married to a 42-year-old Mafia lord, and absolutely nothing had prepared her for what came next. The Moretti estate was a fortress disguised as a villa, high walls, armed guards at every entrance, cameras that tracked movement like predator eyes. It sat on the outskirts of Naples, close enough to the city to feel connected, far enough to feel isolated. A beautiful prison. Sophia's room, because of course she had her own room, was larger than her entire childhood apartment. King bed, walk-in closet full of designer clothes she hadn't chosen. An ensuite bathroom with marble everything. It had everything except a lock on the door. The first night, Dante didn't touch her. He showed her to her room, gestured vaguely at the space, and said, "Make yourself comfortable. Dinner's at 8. Don't be late." Then he left. Sophia stood in the center of that massive room, surrounded by expensive furniture and suffocating silence, and waited for something. For him to return, for demands to be made, for the nightmare to intensify. But nothing happened. At 8, she went downstairs, found the dining room, a table that could seat 20 but was set for 2. Dante was already there, reading something on his phone. He looked up when she entered. "Sit." She sat. A woman in a white uniform, staff, Sophia realized, brought out food. Veal, pasta, roasted vegetables, wine. Enough food for 6 people. They ate in silence. It was worse than arguing, worse than threats. The silence felt intentional, like he was training her, teaching her that she didn't matter enough to warrant conversation. After 15 minutes, Sophia broke. "Are you going to tell me what you expect from me?" Dante finished chewing, sipped his wine. "I expect you to be my wife in public, attend events, smile, make me look stable, respectable." He paused. "In private, I expect you to not cause problems." "That's it? Were you expecting a list of duties, a schedule?" "I was expecting something. It's weird. You forced me to marry you, and now you're acting like I'm a roommate." His eyes settled on her, sharp, focused. "Did you want me to act like a traditional husband, Sophia? Want me to demand my conjugal rights? Expect you in my bed?" Her stomach turned. "No." "Then be grateful I'm not interested." The words should have been a relief, but instead they felt like an insult. Like even in this, even in desire, she wasn't enough. Why? The question came out before she could stop it. Why marry me if you're not interested? Dante set down his fork, leaned back in his chair. "Because marriage for people like me isn't about love or attraction. It's about image. I'm 42, unmarried. In my world, that raises questions. Questions about loyalty, about stability, about whether I can be trusted to lead. So I'm... what, a prop? You're an investment, one that makes my position stronger." He studied her. "Also, you're young, educated, pretty. You'll photograph well at events. People will see me with you and think I'm stable, traditional, safe. Safe, right, because you're such a safe man." His smile was razor-thin. "Exactly." Sophia pushed her plate away. She'd lost her appetite. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask. I might not answer." "Why me, specifically? If this is about image, there are 1,000 girls in Naples who would have jumped at the chance to marry you. Girls who actually want this life. Why force someone who hates you?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "Your father owed me money. This solved the problem efficiently." "That's it? Efficiency. That's it." He was lying. She could tell. Not about the efficiency. That was probably true. But there was something else, something he wasn't saying. Before she could push further, he stood. "I have work to do. You're free to explore the house, the grounds. Just don't leave the property without telling someone." "Am I a prisoner?" "You're my wife. There's a difference." "Is there?" He looked at her then. Really looked at her. And for the first time, she saw something almost like respect. "Get some rest, Sophia. Tomorrow starts early." Then he was gone. The days developed a rhythm. Dante was gone most of the time. Meetings, business, things Sophia wasn't told about and didn't ask. When he was home, they maintained the same cold distance. Meals together occasionally, brief exchanges, nothing personal. It was lonely in a way Sophia had never experienced before. She'd been alone before. Everyone has. But this was different. This was isolation inside company, invisible inside a relationship. She spent her time reading, exploring the estate, avoiding the staff, who were polite but distant, clearly trained not to get too familiar with the boss's wife. And she watched. She watched the way guards changed shifts, the way deliveries were made, the way Dante took calls in his office with the door half open, his voice dropping to dangerous lows when someone displeased him. She was learning the ecosystem of her cage. 3 weeks into the marriage, something shifted. Dante came home early. 3 p.m. Sophia was in the library, a room she'd claimed as her own, full of books in Italian, English, and French. He appeared in the doorway. "Come with me." Not a request. Sophia followed him to his office, a place she'd never been inside before. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. She sat. Dante poured 2 glasses of whiskey, slid one across to her. "You're 19. You drink?" "I'm Italian. Of course I drink." That almost smile again. He sat, sipped his whiskey, studied her. "You've been here 3 weeks. You haven't tried to run, haven't caused problems, haven't done anything stupid." He paused. "Why? Where would I run to? You have guards, cameras, and you made it clear what happens if I try. True, but most people still try. Desperation makes people stupid." "I'm not desperate. I'm practical." "Practical." He repeated the word like he was testing its weight. "That's good. Practical people survive in this world." Sophia took a drink. The whiskey burned. She didn't let it show. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're going to start coming to events with me. Dinners, fundraisers, meetings with people who matter. And I need to know you're not going to do something idiotic like try to signal for help or tell someone you're being held against your will." "Would anyone help me if I did?" "No. Everyone in my world knows the rules. But you could embarrass me, make me look weak, and I can't have that." Sophia set down her glass. "I won't embarrass you." "Why should I believe you?" She met his eyes, held them. "Because I'm smart enough to know that embarrassing you gets my father killed. And despite everything, I don't want that." Dante's expression didn't change, but something in the air between them shifted. A recognition, an understanding. "Good." He stood. "First event is Friday. I'll have something appropriate sent to your room." He walked her to the door, but before she left, he said something that rattled around in her head for days. "You're stronger than you look, Sophia. That's going to be useful." The door closed behind her, and Sophia stood in the hallway, wondering what the hell that meant. The event was a charity gala. Ironic, really. A room full of criminals donating money to look respectable. Sophia wore the dress Dante had selected, midnight blue. Elegant, expensive. It made her look older, more sophisticated. Exactly what he wanted. Dante himself looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Tailored tuxedo, perfect hair, the kind of man who commanded attention just by existing. In the car ride there, he'd given her simple instructions. "Smile, be polite, don't drink too much, stay close to me. If anyone asks personal questions, deflect. Don't volunteer information about our marriage." What if someone asks directly, "If I'm happy?" Tell them you are. So lie. Welcome to my world. The gala was held at a historic palazzo. Crystal chandeliers, orchestra playing, waiters circulating with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Every person there looked wealthy, powerful, dangerous. Dante's hand settled on the small of Sophia's back, not affectionate, possessive, guiding her through the crowd, introducing her. "This is my wife, Sophia." Over and over, same line, same tone. People smiled, congratulated them, said things like, "You make a beautiful couple," with voices that sounded sincere, but eyes that calculated. These people weren't fooled. They knew what this was. Sophia played her part, smiled, thanked them, held Dante's arm like a dutiful wife, and hated every second. 2 hours in, Dante was pulled into a conversation with 3 older men. Business, from the look of it. He glanced at Sophia. "Wait here. Don't wander." Then he was gone. Sophia stood alone in the crowd, champagne glass in hand, feeling like an actress who'd forgotten her lines. "You look miserable." The voice came from her left. A woman, mid-30s, stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than Sophia's education. Sophia turned. "Excuse me?" The woman smiled, not unkindly. "I said you look miserable, like you'd rather be literally anywhere else." She extended a hand. "Isabella. Isabella Costa." Sophia shook it. "Sophia Moretti. I know who you are. Everyone here does. Dante's new bride, the girl who married into the family." Isabella sipped her champagne. "How long have you been married?" "Almost a month." "And how are you finding it? Married life with Dante Moretti?" There was something in her tone, not mockery, curiosity, genuine curiosity. Sophia chose her words carefully. "It's an adjustment." Isabella laughed, sharp, real. "That's diplomatic, I like you." She leaned in slightly. "Can I give you some advice?" "I don't even know you." "Exactly, which means I have nothing to gain by lying to you." Isabella's smile faded. "Don't trust anyone here. Not the wives, not the husbands, not the staff. Everyone in Dante's world is either an asset or a threat. There's no in-between." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you look like a girl who still thinks there are good people in this world. And there might be, but none of them are in this room." Before Sophia could respond, Dante reappeared. His eyes went to Isabella, cooled. "Isabella. Dante. Congratulations on the marriage. She's lovely." "Thank you." Isabella's smile was sharp as glass. "Take care of her. Girls like this. They don't last long in our world, unless they're protected." Then she walked away. Dante's hand tightened on Sophia's arm. "What did she say to you?" "Nothing. Just congratulations. Stay away from her." "Why?" "Because Isabella Costa is dangerous. Her husband runs the second largest family in Naples. And she's smarter than he is, which makes her more dangerous than him." Sophia watched Isabella disappear into the crowd. She seemed nice. She's not. Dante guided Sophia toward the exit. "We're leaving." In the car, Sophia finally asked, "What did she mean? Girls like me don't last long." Dante stared out the window. "It means women who aren't born into this life. They either adapt or they break. There's no third option." "And which do you expect me to do?" He finally looked at her. "I haven't decided yet." A month later, Sophia started to notice patterns. Dante received visits from the same 5 men every week. They'd meet in his office, raised voices sometimes, never violence, but the threat of it always humming beneath the surface. She learned their names by listening. Enzo, Marco, not her father, different Marco, Alessandro, Luca, also not her Luca, and Giovanni. Giovanni was different from the others. Younger, maybe 30, handsome in a clean-cut way. And when he saw Sophia in the hallway one day, he actually smiled, not the calculating smile everyone else wore. A real smile. You must be Sophia. I'm Giovanni. I work with Dante. Work with or work for? His smile widened. Smart. Work for, technically. But Dante doesn't like that phrasing. Makes him sound like a dictator. Isn't he? Giovanni laughed. Actually laughed. I like you. Don't tell him I said that. Over the next few weeks, Giovanni became the only person in that house Sophia could almost talk to. He wasn't a friend. She knew better than to think that. But he was human. He made jokes, asked how she was doing, treated her like a person instead of a piece of furniture. One afternoon, he found her in the library. Reading again? It's not like I have much else to do. He sat down across from her, uninvited, which was bold, considering whose wife she was. Can I ask you something? And you can tell me to go to hell if you want. Go ahead. Why did you marry him? Really? Sophia closed her book. You know why. Everyone knows why. The debt. Right. But you could have run, disappeared. People do it. And what would have happened to my father? Giovanni nodded slowly. Yeah, that's what I thought. He leaned back. For what it's worth, Dante's not the worst of them. I know that doesn't mean much, but he's not sadistic. He doesn't hurt people for fun. Just for business. Just for business. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Giovanni said something that made Sophia's blood run cold. He had a wife before. Did you know that? Sophia's entire body went still. What? Years ago. Before you. She was... He stopped. Maybe I shouldn't say. You can't just start a story like that and not finish it. Giovanni rubbed his face. Her name was Elena. They were married for 3 years. She was older than you. 27 when they got married. Beautiful, smart, from a good family. What happened to her? She died. The word hung in the air like smoke. How? Car accident. Official story anyway. Giovanni's eyes met hers. But there are rumors, whispers, that maybe it wasn't an accident. That maybe she tried to leave and Dante made sure she couldn't. Sophia's hands were shaking. Are you saying he killed her? I'm saying I don't know. No one knows. Except Dante. And he doesn't talk about it. Ever. Mention Elena's name around him and you'll see him shut down. In a way that's unsettling. Why are you telling me this? Giovanni stood. Because you seem like a nice girl. And I'd hate to see you end up like Elena. So whatever you do, don't try to leave. Don't give him a reason to think you're betraying him. He headed for the door, stopped. And don't tell him we had this conversation. Then he was gone. And Sophia sat there, in that library, realizing that the monster she'd married might have already killed one wife. What was stopping him from killing another? That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like a threat. She kept thinking about Elena, wondering who she'd been, what she'd looked like, whether she'd been forced into the marriage too, or if she'd gone willingly, whether she'd tried to escape, whether that's what got her killed. At 2 a.m., Sophia got out of bed, wandered the house. She'd done this before. Insomnia was a constant companion now. But tonight felt different. Tonight she found herself outside Dante's office. The door was closed, but she could see light underneath. He was awake. She should have gone back to her room, should have left it alone. But she didn't. She knocked. Come in. She opened the door. Dante was at his desk, papers spread everywhere. He looked tired, older than usual. Can't sleep? He asked without looking up. No. Join the club. He gestured to the chair. Sit if you want. She sat. They existed in silence for a moment. Then Sophia said the words before she could stop herself. Who was Elena? The effect was immediate. Dante's entire body went rigid. His hand froze mid-movement. And when he looked at her, his eyes were empty in a way that was genuinely terrifying. "Who told you that name? Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters." His voice had gone cold. Dead. "Who?" "I overheard it. Someone mentioned her in passing. I didn't even— Don't lie to me, Sophia. I can always tell when people lie." She swallowed. "Giovanni. He mentioned her. Said she was your first wife." Dante stood, slowly, like a predator rising. "Giovanni talks too much. He didn't mean anything by it. He just— didn't mean anything." Dante's voice was rising now, not shouting, worse, controlled fury. "He told you about Elena, about something that's none of your goddamn business, about the one thing I made clear. To everyone in this house, they never speak about." Sophia stood too, defensive. "Maybe if you told me yourself, I wouldn't have had to hear it from someone else." "I didn't tell you because it doesn't concern you." "I'm your wife. How does your dead wife not concern me?" "Because she's dead." The words exploded out of him, echoing in the office. Silence crashed down. Dante turned away, ran a hand through his hair, and when he spoke again, his voice was quieter, broken. "Elena was my wife. We were married for 3 years, and she died in a car accident. That's all you need to know. Giovanni said there were rumors that maybe it wasn't an accident." Dante spun around. "Giovanni said what?" Sophia realized she'd made a mistake, a big one. "He just mentioned that people talked, that— Did he say I killed her? Is that what you're asking me right now? If I murdered my own wife? I'm not— Answer the question, Sophia. Do you think I killed her?" She met his eyes, saw pain there, actual raw pain. "I don't know what to think. You forced me to marry you. You keep me in this house like a prisoner. You won't tell me anything about yourself. And now I find out you had a wife who died under suspicious circumstances. What am I supposed to think?" Dante moved closer. Not threatening. Just closer. "Elena was the only person I've ever loved. The only person who saw something in me worth loving back. And when she died—" He stopped, breathed. "It broke something in me. Something that didn't heal." "Then what happened? How did she die?" "She was driving home, late at night. Someone ran her off the road. By the time I got to the hospital, she was gone." "Who did it?" "Rival family. Sending a message. They couldn't touch me directly, so they took the thing I loved most." His voice cracked. "I killed every person involved. Every single one. But it didn't bring her back." Sophia felt tears on her face. She didn't even realize she was crying. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was 5 years ago. I've moved on." But he hadn't. That much was obvious. Dante walked back to his desk, sat down, suddenly looked exhausted. "You should go to bed, Sophia." "I didn't mean to. I know. Just go." She went to the door, stopped. "For what it's worth, I don't think you killed her." Dante didn't look up. "Good, because I didn't." Sophia left, and as she walked back to her room, she realized something that changed everything. Dante Moretti was broken. Dangerous, yes. Cruel, maybe. But broken in a way that made him almost human. Almost. After that night, something shifted between them. Not warmth, not friendship, but acknowledgement. Like they'd both dropped their weapons for a moment and looked at each other as actual people. Dante started talking to her more. Not about business. He kept that separate. But about small things, books, music, his opinions on the mediocrity of modern architecture. He was educated, well-read, funny even in a dark way. Sophia hated that she was starting to see him as more than a monster. But she did. 3 months into the marriage, Dante came to her room. Late. Knocked. When she opened the door, he looked different. Uncertain, maybe. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked to the window, stared out at the grounds. "I need to tell you something." "Okay." "There's a situation. Business. Dangerous. And it might involve you." Sophia's stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" "One of the rival families is pushing back, testing boundaries. They've been watching this house. Watching you." "Why me?" "Because you're new. Because hurting you would hurt me. Because that's how this world works." Fear settled into her bones. What do I need to do? "Be careful. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't trust anyone outside this house. And if something happens, if someone approaches you, if you feel threatened, you come to me immediately. Understood?" "Understood." He turned to face her. "I won't let anything happen to you, Sophia. I know you don't believe that. I know you think I'm a monster who doesn't care about anyone. But Elena, I couldn't protect her. I won't make that mistake twice." For the first time since the wedding, Sophia saw something real in his eyes. Not love. He didn't love her. But responsibility. Ownership, even. She was his. And he protected what was his. "Thank you," she heard herself say. He nodded. Left. And Sophia stood there, realizing that at some point in the last 3 months, she'd stopped planning her escape. She'd started surviving. 6 months into the marriage, Sophia's father visited. It was the first time she'd seen him since the wedding. Dante had arranged it, a supervised lunch at the estate. Marco looked better, healthier. The trembling had stopped. He'd put on weight. Freedom from debt looked good on him. But when Sophia hugged him, he felt like a stranger. They sat in the garden, guards nearby but out of earshot. "How are you, Piccola?" "Don't call me that." "Sophia, how are you?" She wanted to scream at him, to tell him that she was trapped, that every day in this house felt like drowning, that she'd lost herself somewhere between the wedding and now. But instead she said, "I'm fine." Because what was the alternative? Tell him the truth and watch him crumble under the guilt he already carried? Her father studied her face. "You look different." "I've gotten older." "That's not what I mean. You look harder. Like you've seen things." "I've seen a lot." They sat in silence. Then her father said the worst thing he could have said. "I'm proud of you. For surviving this. For being strong." Sophia laughed, cold, bitter. "Proud? You sold me, Papa. You gave me to a criminal to clear your debt. And now you're proud? Sophia, no. You don't get to be proud. You don't get to feel good about what you did. You ruined my life to save yours." Tears ran down Marco's face. "I know. I know what I did. And I'll regret it until the day I die. But you're alive. You're safe. That's all I could hope for." "Safe?" "I'm married to a man who might have killed his last wife. Who operates in a world where violence is currency. Who keeps me in this house like property. Is that your definition of safe? Does he hurt you?" Sophia paused. The honest answer was no. Dante had never laid a hand on her in anger, never made demands, never forced anything. But he'd taken her freedom, her choices, her future. Wasn't that a kind of violence, too? "No, he doesn't hurt me. Not physically." Relief washed over her father's face. "Then maybe it's not as bad as it could be." Sophia stood. "I think you should go." "Sophia, please." "Go, Papa. And don't come back. I can't look at you without seeing the moment you traded me away. I can't. I can't forgive you." Marco stood, nodded, walked toward the exit, At the gate, he turned back. "I love you, Piccola. Even if you hate me. I love you." Then he was gone. And Sophia stood in that garden, surrounded by beauty and wealth and walls that might as well have been made of iron, and cried for the first time since the wedding. Cried for the girl she used to be. The girl who believed in love and futures and choices. That girl was dead, and Sophia had no idea who she'd become. The attack came 3 weeks later. Sophia was in the library. Evening. The house was quiet. She heard shouting first, then gunshots. Actual gunshots. Terror paralyzed her. She didn't know what to do. Hide, run, scream. The library door burst open. Giovanni, blood on his shirt, gun in his hand. "Sophia, move! Now!" He grabbed her arm, pulled her into the hallway. More gunshots. Closer now. "What's happening?" "Rival family. They're inside the house. We need to get you to the safe room." They ran. Through hallways Sophia barely recognized. Downstairs. Into the basement. Giovanni punched a code into a hidden panel. A door opened. Reinforced steel. He shoved her inside. "Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except Dante or me. Understand?" "Where's Dante?" "Handling it. Go!" The door slammed shut. Darkness. Complete darkness, except for a single emergency light. Sophia's breathing was ragged, panicked. She could hear sounds through the walls, muffled, violent, and then silence. Horrible silence. She waited. 5 minutes. 10. 20. Then the door opened. Dante, covered in blood. Not his. She could tell by the way he moved. Controlled. Unhurt. "Are you okay?" She nodded. Couldn't speak. He pulled her out of the safe room. Led her back upstairs. Bodies. There were bodies in the hallway. Sophia tried not to look, but she saw. Faces frozen in death. Blood pooling on marble floors. This was Dante's world. This violence. This death. And she was part of it now. In there, his bedroom, Dante finally stopped moving, stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. "They're all dead, the ones who came. I made sure of it." "How many?" 7. 7 people. Dead. In her house. Sophia felt dizzy. Why? Why did they come here? Dante turned to her, and for the first time she saw real fear in his eyes. "Because I've been distracted. Because having you here made me vulnerable. Because they thought killing you would break me." "Would it? Would killing me break you?" He stared at her for a long moment. "I don't know." The honesty was terrifying. He walked to the bathroom, started washing blood off his hands. Sophia followed, stood in the doorway. "This is your life, forever, isn't it? This violence, this fear. Yes. And now it's mine too." He looked at her in the mirror. Yes. She should have hated him more in that moment, should have blamed him for dragging her into this nightmare. But instead she felt something else, something she didn't have a name for. Connection, maybe, to someone who understood what it meant to be trapped, to have no way out, to survive one day at a time in a world that wanted to destroy you. "I'm not going to run," she said quietly. Dante turned off the water, faced her. "What?" "I'm not going to try to escape. I'm not going to betray you. I'm not going to be your weakness." She stepped closer. "But I'm not going to be invisible either. If I'm going to survive in your world, I need to understand it. I need to learn it. I need you to teach me." Dante studied her face, searching for something. "You want to become part of this? Really?" "I don't want to, but I'm here. And I'm not the same girl who walked down that aisle 6 months ago. That girl would have broken by now, but I haven't, and I'm not going to." Something like respect flickered in his eyes. "You're serious?" "Completely." He nodded slowly. Then starting tomorrow, I'll teach you how this world works, how power functions, how to see threats before they see you. Why? Why help me? Because you were right. You're my wife, and a weak wife makes me weak, but a strong wife. He almost smiled. That's something else entirely. Sophia extended her hand. Deal? Dante looked at her hand, then took it. Deal. And in that moment, something fundamental changed. Sophia Moretti, stopped being a victim and started becoming something far more dangerous. 1 year after the wedding, Sophia stood in Dante's office during a meeting, not hiding, not absent, present, watching, learning. The 5 men who'd once ignored her now nodded when she entered. Giovanni smiled. Even Enzo, the hardest, coldest of them, showed her a measure of respect. Because in the past 6 months, she'd proven herself. She'd learned to read people, to see agendas beneath politeness, to understand the currency of favors and threats. She'd learned to shoot, to defend herself, to exist in a world where violence was always 3 seconds away. She'd learned to be Dante's partner, not his equal. That would take years, if ever. But his partner, someone he consulted, someone whose opinion mattered. And in the process, she'd lost something. The girl who wanted to be a writer, who believed in romance, who thought the world could be kind. That girl was gone. In her place was someone harder, sharper, someone who could look at a problem and calculate solutions that would have horrified her 19-year-old self. After the meeting, Dante found her in the library. You did well today. I'm learning. He sat down across from her. They'd developed this routine, quiet conversations in this room where the world felt distant. Do you regret it? He asked. Regret what? Choosing to stay, to become this. Sophia thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know if I had a choice, not really. But if I did... She met his eyes. No, I don't regret it. This version of me survives. The old version would have died in this world. You're different than you were. So are you. He raised an eyebrow. How? You smile now. Sometimes. You talk to me like I'm a person, not a possession. You let me into parts of your life you keep from everyone else. She paused. Elena would be proud of that growth. Mentioning Elena used to be forbidden. Now it was just... sad. A wound that had scarred over. Dante nodded slowly. Maybe she would be. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Sophia said something she never thought she'd say. I don't love you. I want to be clear about that. I know. But I don't hate you either. Not anymore. What do you feel? She considered. Respect. Partnership. A weird kind of loyalty that I didn't choose but can't seem to shake. She smiled. Small. Real. Is that enough? Dante looked at her for a long moment. Yeah, it's enough. Sophia Moretti was 19 when they forced her to marry a 42-year-old Mafia lord. Nothing prepared her for that. Not her education. Not her dreams. Not her understanding of what life should be. But sometimes the life you're forced into teaches you things about yourself you never would have discovered in the life you chose. Sometimes survival requires transformation, and sometimes the monster you're given turns out to be a mirror, showing you the monster you're capable of becoming. Sophia learned to survive, and in surviving she became someone else entirely. Not better, not worse, just different. Someone who understood that power isn't given, it's taken. And she was done asking permission. If you want to hear more stories about people who were forced into impossible situations and came out the other side, transformed, whether for better or worse, hit subscribe. Drop a comment telling me whose story you want to hear next. And if you made it this far, You're the kind of person who understands that the best stories aren't about happy endings. They're about survival, about transformation, about becoming someone you never thought you'd be. Thanks for watching. And remember, the cage you're in today might be teaching you how to pick locks tomorrow. Now go. Think about that.